Okay, welcome. So many of you listening probably picture the California prison system as, well, just one single entity, right?
Right. But the reality inside is it's way more complicated. You've got these really intricate social groups, these organizations.
Exactly. And today we're diving into one of those that you've asked about, the Kumi African Nation Organization. You might know it as 415 or Kumi 415.
Yeah, and we've been looking through quite a bit of material, academic stuff, news reports, gang culture research, and it really paints a picture of a group with, a real history and a very specific identity.
So our goal here, our sort of mission, is to pull out the key stuff about Kumi 415 for you. Give you the context, the clarity, but without drowning you in every single detail.
Let's do it. Where do we start? Origins, maybe.
Yeah, perfect. Where did this group actually come from? The name itself, 415, that sounds like a clue, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. The sources are pretty consistent here. They formed in Folsom State Prison. We're talking mid-1980s.
Okay, Folsom mid-80.
And the key thing right from the start is geography, the founders. Mostly guys from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Ah, okay. So that 415, that's got to be the area code, right? The one
Yeah,
for the Bay Area.
exactly. And the name itself is, well, pretty smart, actually. Kumi. That's Swahili. It means 10.
Okay.
And then you take 415, add the digits, 4 plus 1 plus 5.
Ah, also 10. I see. So it's like a double link, Bay Area roots, and the number 10.
Precisely. It's clever. Ties them directly to their origins, kind of like an internal code.
Okay, so they're established, they have this identity tied to the Bay Area. But, these groups don't exist in a vacuum inside prison. What about connections? Alliances?
That's crucial. Yeah. The sources consistently mention their relationship with the Black Gorilla family, the BGF.
BGF. How does that connection work?
Well, Kumi 415 is often described as a recruitment pool for the BGF.
A recruitment pool, like a feeder group.
Sort of, yeah. It makes sense geographically, too. The BGF is also big in the Bay Area and Northern California, so there's that shared turf.
Right, that overlap we just talked about.
It kind of suggests this, maybe a hierarchy, or at least a specialization within the system. Newer groups, or more local ones, feeding into the larger, older organizations.
Interesting. So potentially benefits for both sides. Recruitment for BGF, maybe some protection or clout for Kumi 415.
That seems plausible based on the material, yeah. But it raises questions, too.
Like what? Is it always cooperative? Could there be tension, competition?
That's a really good point. The sources focus on the recruitment angle, but yeah, you have to wonder. It's unlikely to be that simple all the time. Competition for resources, influence. It's definitely possible.
Okay. So there's this main link to BGF. Anything else? Any other alliances mentioned?
Yes, actually, there are reports of more temporary alliances, situational things.
Temporary.
Yeah.
Like with groups they wouldn't normally align with.
Exactly. One source points to reported collaborations happening in Monterey County Jail.
Okay. Involving who?
This is the surprising part. Reports mention the Bloods, the Crips, and Kumi 415 working together.
Whoa. Bloods and Crips. Together. With Kumi 415. When was this?
It was apparently leading up to Stanley Tookie Williams' execution.
Huh. So a really specific, high-stakes event brought traditional rivals together, temporarily at least.
It seems so. It really shows you how fluid things can be, even in that environment, maybe driven by a common cause or threat, however brief.
It certainly paints a picture of a system that's maybe less rigid than you'd first think.
Okay, so they started in Folsom, links to the Bay Area, connections to BGF, even these temporary alliances. Where else do we see them? What's their geographical spread now?
Well, they've definitely expanded beyond Folsom. The reports mention their presence in quite a few places.
Like where?
Loder County Jail, Monterey County Jail, where that temporary alliance reportedly happened. Pelican Bay State Prison.
Pelican Bay, okay. Known facility.
Right. Also, Pleasant Valley State Prison down in Coalinga, Salinas Valley State Prison, and then more broadly in parts of East County, San Diego, and Solano County Jail as well. Wow, okay. So quite a reach across the California system. Not just a Northern California thing anymore.
No, it seems they've established footholds in various key locations, which, suggests a certain level of organization.
Definitely. So now that we have a sense of their structure, their connections, their reach, let's talk about what makes them, their cultural identity. The sources really highlight this, don't they?
They really do. This seems central to understanding Kumi 415. There's a very strong African-centric focus.
African-centric. How does that manifest?
Well, for one, there's an emphasis on learning Mau history.
Mau Mau. The Kenyan uprising against the British, right?
Exactly. A major symbol of African resistance.
Yeah.
And then there's language. They use Swahili for communication within the group.
Swahili, so like A code almost?
Pretty much, it creates an internal language, keeps conversations private from staff, from other groups, builds cohesion.
That's a powerful tool in that environment.
Hmm.
And then the tattoos. There's a specific one mentioned quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, very prominent. It's described as a Euro, an African warrior,
Okay, an African warrior.
shown rising from the continent of Africa itself, and in his hands. Well, one hand holds a machine gun,
A machine gun.
and the other holds a flag. And on that flag, the numbers 415.
Wow. Okay, let's unpack that. African warrior, African machine gun, and the 415 flag. That's quite an image.
It really is. It's this fascinating blend, isn't it? You've got the clear African identity, the warrior, the continent, but then the machine gun, maybe symbolizing struggle, power, resistance.
And the 415 flag firmly planting them back in the Bay Area.
Exactly. It's like a visual declaration of their dual identity. We are rooted here in California, and we draw strength from this broader African heritage.
It's very deliberate symbolism. Are there other African symbols they use?
Yes, the sources mention more general depictions too. The continent of Africa itself often appears in their tattoos.
Okay.
And it all reinforces that African cultural orientation, which, interestingly, the sources note is something they share with the Black gorilla family.
Ah. So that reinforces the connection we talked about earlier. A shared ideological or cultural element, perhaps.
It certainly seems to point in that direction, another layer to that relationship.
So let's try and pull this together then. We've got a group born in Folsom, mid-'80s, strong Bay Area roots reflected in their name.
Right. Connected primarily to the BGF, potentially as recruits, but also capable of temporary strategic alliances with others.
Spread across numerous California prisons now, not just localized.
And what really defines them, sets them apart, is this strong African-centric identity.
Expressed through studying history, like the Mau Mau, using Swahili.
And through powerful symbols like that Euro tattoo, blending the African warrior with their specific 415 origins.
It's a complex picture. Local identity meets broader cultural consciousness.
Exactly. And that blend undoubtedly shapes how they operate, how they see themselves within that prison world.
Which leads to a bigger thought, really. When you see this kind of mix, this specific local thing, the 415, woven into this large-scale African identity, what does that tell us about how identity even works in a place like prison?
That's a fascinating question to ponder, isn't it? Because prison is designed in many ways to strip identity away.
Right. Uniforms, numbers.
Yet here you have groups like Kumi 415 creating these incredibly rich, layered identities, fusing the hyperlocal, their specific area code, with this vast historical and cultural heritage. It suggests a really powerful human need.
A need for what? Belonging.
Meaning, probably both.
Yeah.
A need to connect to something immediate, their specific origins, and something much bigger, a shared history, a source of strength and pride, perhaps especially in an environment that tries to diminish them.
It makes you think about the function of symbols, language, all of it, in these extreme contexts. It's not just superficial.
Not at all. It seems deeply functional, creating solidarity, security, meaning. It really highlights the resilience and adaptability of identity formation.
Absolutely. It's definitely something to chew on, those layers of meaning behind the names, the numbers, the images. A reminder that even in places we might think of as uniform, there are these complex, self-defined worlds.
It really challenges you to look beyond the surface.
So think about that. This blend of Californian roots and African heritage, what does it truly reveal about crafting identity under pressure? Something to explore further, perhaps.